morning, Gigi. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you?
Good. It sounds like you're working from home and that someone's doing their chores.
Oh, no, I was making tea.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I can't see what's going on, so I heard something.
I jumped up as soon as I turned the camera up, and I was like, oh, I don't want that to burn out.
Oh, yeah. Well, welcome you guys to a Friday edition of Finance Friday with Gigi Tillis on the Morning Muffin Show. Today, we like to explore different financial opportunities that may arise in the world of real estate. And today we're talking about buying and selling at the same time, which I like to think of as financial dominoes. Everything has to be lined up exactly right. And they can only fall over once everybody's complete. And sometimes one can fall over before it's ready, and you have to make replacements and reset everything up. And it can be a little more complicated, but we're here to talk about the syncrasies of it all. So
yeah. It's funny because I have a customer right now. They want to refi, but then they want a new house in a year. And I'm like, okay, so you should probably start talking to someone now, because it may make more sense for you just to start looking.
Yeah. Back in the day when I first started vlogging, I had produced an episode at like early 2015 about how refinancing can sometimes be flushing the toilet on your equity, and especially your cash too, because you have closing costs. So with a refinance, so sometimes it doesn't make sense you got to look at your goals in the long term, like 3, 5, 10 years, and see exactly if it does make sense. And talk to lots of other individuals like yourself, for example. That was very wise of them to have that conversation with you and say, hey, I'm going to actually back up on this, because some of my problems with other lenders, and this is one of the reasons why I love you, is because you think long term. Some other lenders might just accept your refinance without helping you accomplish your goals, because it's a quick paycheck for mortgage
Lenders, yeah.
Yeah. Mortgage professionals, what's your take on that from that angle?
Well, so this is a repeat customer, and I always try and kind of help them long term. There's a few moving parts, but I told them that they should talk to someone now, and we should kind of put a plan together. Because if I'm not able to help them today, I always look at that. I can help them, next go round, or when they're ready. And for me, it's the same way with a first-time home buyer. If you're not ready today, then let's get you ready. Or even if you are ready with, you have all the pieces, you have the credit, you have the down payment, you're just not finding a house. Some people are like, should I sign another lease? Or I know we're getting off, but we're talking about like how to align yourself with purchasing or selling and purchasing at the same time. And I think a lot of people are getting nervous to sell because it's kind of hard to find something right now.
It is. And now refinancing can sometimes help you if you say, I have a really good example. I bought a condo in 2015. My interest rate is at about 8.5%, which wasn't bad,
Yeah.
That is actually the average now, I think, is 5. But at the time, 8% was a normal average. And even 5, like people like, oh, 5, it's so high. But even that's like a normal average now. but being able to drop your interest rate can actually reduce your payment and your
Help you
DTI.
save. Yes.
And so it could actually help you qualify for your next thing. So it's doubly important to help, like you said, talk to a professional and realign yourself to the best like financial benefit. Because you might be able to, by reducing that price of your current mortgage, be able to buy non-contingent then.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And non-contingent means not contingent on the sale of your current home. You might be able to afford 2 mortgages depending upon what it is you're looking for.
Right. Yeah. So, and that's, I think, a thing right now with a lot of people. If they're not putting themselves in a non-contingent, I mean, it's easy to sell.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're not in a non-contingent situation, then it is a little harder for them to kind of wait it out.
Yeah. So typically when we list somebody's property, so we come to their house, we put it on the market, a buyer comes, makes an offer, and then that transaction is like sealed. And then now the seller has the opportunity to go out and look for their home and buy non-contingent on the sale. Well, buy contingent on the sale of their home, but not like still looking for a buyer, because that would be different. Like if it was sitting on the market for a long time versus if it's actually has an offer and we have numbers to work with. So it can be a little trickier when a seller looks to accept an offer. A seller's typically like a non-contingent offer, because then, you know, that domino effect, like what happens if their sale falls through? Does mine fall through? And so on and so forth.
Right.
Sorry. You know, it's all right. It's all right. I actually have, I'm going to share my screen. I have 8 mistakes to avoid when buying and selling at the same time from realtor.com. Now this is 2 years old, so the market it's different because it's post-pandemic. However, it's still pretty much the same. And it does have this like little video here. So if you wanted to be able to watch this, oh, and it's not sharing. Hold on. I always have to do it twice. Sorry, guys. Here we go. So it's got this little video here. Ad first. But anyway, 8 mistakes. And it talks about waiting too long to prep your home for selling. I think that would be different. I think if we were in an average market where there was more seasonality to it.
Mm-hmm.
However, with our inventory shortage and our supply and demand at, you know, like a hair's worth of indifference.
Well, it's really interesting. I mean, I'm seeing that people are not really putting the work into fixing their homes up anymore.
They don't have to. Buyers are buying with no inspections. They're waiving inspections, which brings us back to in 2003 is right around the time 2008, 2003 is right around when most buyers started doing inspections. So it is a common trend that has only been around for about 15 years now, where buyers actually get home inspections. So we're seeing the people waiving them. So, and with that, then, and the fact that, like I said, hairline margins between our supply and demand, they don't even have to prep their home. Like people just buy as is.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. The second one is, it looks like skipping a backup plan. What is a good financial backup plan for buyers and sellers that you typically see on the mortgage side?
What do you mean exactly?
For example, my husband and I, we bought and we were selling at the same time. The sale of our property fell through but we were still able to buy non-contingent.
Okay.
Because we were originally using just one income. And then when we brought in my income, because it takes 1 to buy, 2 to sell, when we added my income in it, then we could buy non-contingent. So that was our backup plan.
Right. And I think a lot of, especially first-time home buyers, don't normally have a backup plan.
Mm-hmm.
They normally just go in and they're like, okay, if they find a house, get an accepted offer, because all kinds of things can happen. Like, I tell people to never give notice until we're pretty much clear. I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, but then that may mean you need, one benefit of buying a home is you don't have to pay mortgage right away. Once you pay your closing costs and everything like that, you usually get 30 days until you pay your mortgage. So say you close in June, you wouldn't pay mortgage until August.
Yeah, and sometimes you can prepay interest and stuff and not pay until September. I've done that a couple times.
So, but those types of things, if you're in a rental situation, it may buy you some time or allow you to be on a prorated rent, so you have a place to stay in between the time. I think that it's the furthest thing away from getting into a lease.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of first-time home buyers don't set themselves up for, say you skip an inspection, but the appraisal comes back and you need to get something fixed.
Yeah.
That's going to push a close date.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you're in a home and you're selling, and maybe you're selling to someone else who is selling. That's the domino effect that you were talking about.
And you're buying from somebody who's buying.
Well, something happens where, something maybe needs to be fixed, which I just had something like that. You and I had something like that, but I had someone walk away from a deal where the seller just wouldn't fix the roof. And I'm like, you're going to have to do that at some point. But he was confident that he could get a buyer who would be willing to fix the roof. Yeah. And so he did not concede, and my buyer walked away.
Mm-hmm.
So, luckily, she didn't, give notice, because with the housing market the way that it is, the rental market, there's also a lack of inventory and renting as well for rentals. And so she could have given, notice on her place and not been able to have a place to stay or go have to sleep on somebody's couch.
Now, with that being said, in order to buy non-contingent, some sellers are finding that they're going to have to go back to temporarily renting. And that's something that I advise on quite often, being able to write in a contingency into people's leases that says, hey, I'm actively looking to purchase a home. I would like a month-to-month lease. Or if I find a home to purchase, then I would like to be able to walk away or do like a 6-month term. But there's no lack of renters out there. And so I think that landlords are starting to be more accepting of shorter term leases and
just the flexibility around it. I think that's a very, I remember, I feel like it was 2017. That was a thing where people, or maybe not 7, maybe 19. I had a couple of people that sold their house and actually went into a lease, a 6-month lease, to buy them some time. Purpose, because inventory was, short then. And so that is an amazing backup plan. Actually, if you sell your house, you get out of your home, you're kind of wrap that transaction or wrap that up in your life and close that chapter. Move into a rental property, not a big responsibility, then you're able to kind of take your time and buy.
And you can really sidestep those dominoes, which, if you've ever experienced something where your seller is buying and then the buyer is selling their house and something were to happen with their buyers. I mean, if you've ever been in that domino effect, when something goes wrong, it can cause a bunch of people homelessness all at once.
Exactly.
Or, and that's also something is it's can be traumatic, and buying and selling a house should not be traumatic, especially with how life in itself right now is so
Right.
the past year and everything like that. So being able to really sidestep and lean emotionally and heed the advice of these actual professionals that are out there doing this job day in and day out is like the best recommendation that I could give. But here, I'm gonna keep going. Sorry. Sometimes, like you see this, working with too little cushion or failing to compromise.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any stories about that? Like people working with too little cushion?
Yeah, just not fully, being prepared. Like I have one right now. We started earlier in the year, and then she needed to get a gift, and then that just kind of didn't work out. And so we had to kind of wrap that transaction up. And she was confident she could get a gift, and then that just didn't work out. So here we are again. And I said, we're going to go about it different. We're just going to get you fully approved and vet your whole your whole financial situation out before we move forward.
Yep.
So
And I see this a lot with like renting to own, because people,
yeah,
they're like, oh, well, we can just rent for a while, not realizing that, there comes a deadline. And they have continued their lifestyle instead of remedying their financial inequalities that prevented them from being able to purchase in the first place.
well, yeah. And I think even in a rent to own situation, because I've actually worked with a few rent to own this year, which this person is rent to own again. And you still, the buying process is still the same. You still have to be able to source your funds. You still have to be able to have, the work history there, even though you're in the home. Purchasing a home through a lender is still the same. And so another thing on that is I think it's really important to have representation. So for someone who's in a rent to own situation, I think it's important for them to get a realtor.
Absolutely. Well, just the education alone, like I said, people get into that rental situation and then they relax and they continue their bad behavior that prevented them from the first place. So maybe working with a professional and having that representation and that education, that hand holding through remedying whether it's their credit score, their DTI, their down payment sourcing, even just walking with them through maybe the repairs that the home needs. Because when you buy a rent to own, and this could be a whole nother topic, we're opening up a can.
Exactly.
You have to buy the home as is. Like
Yeah.
there's no, because you know more about the homeowner or home than the homeowner does, since you live there, and it could be your fault. Like that's the way they see it, is like it's your wear and tear on the property.
Yeah. So depending on if you buy, FHA or conventional, there may be some things that got ruined, or, weather may have come through and kind of messed some things up. And those are some things that you have to either plan for if you're planning to actually get a mortgage or fix prior to.
So I just realized what time it is. We've been talking for 18 minutes. This is a topic, you guys, that it branches off. So here's a link for buying and selling a home at the same time. It can be a complicated process, but it doesn't have to be. You can leave the complications to us and just, help us make a road plan together, a map of how we want to do things. There's a link. It's in the comments. Feel free to check it out. And if you have more questions, give Gigi a call at, what's your phone number?
612-242-7569. And I just want to add, like, it's not too early. So I've heard 2 people I've been working with lately. They're like, oh, we want to do it next year, because all of the buzz going on in the market. And next year starts today. So
Mm-hmm.
conversation should start today. The financial planning should start today. All of those things should start today. And you can kind of break it out quarterly. Like, we're going to kind of talk about this, this quarter. And then by the time you get there, you'll be set up really well.
Well, and I just, one of my buyers just finally got into contract this past week after being in the market since January.
Oh, wow.
They are, they were like, beginning of the year, they're like, we're going to buy a house this year. This is what we want to do. I've been coaching them since 2018, kind of like walking them through, staying in touch. And it's taken them 6 months to even get into contract on a property. They've been making offers, but now they're officially into a home.
Nice. It takes a while sometimes, but yeah, let's keep like the train who could.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. Bye, Gigi. I will not see you next week because you're going to be in Branson, Missouri. And it's also a holiday weekend. So I think we won't be doing Friday or Monday of the 4th of July weekend. Oh, or is that the following weekend?
The 4th is the following weekend, but we'll definitely be traveling that weekend. So
yes,
we'll be off for a couple.
Okay. So see you guys later. I will send some reruns. So if you want to check them out, check them out.
Okay. Great. Thanks, Jen. Have a good Friday.
Happy Friday.